All right, click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, join the channel, become a member, support channel, copy the various other links, or to be sure to join the Telegram. Telegram has a lot of stuff on it, not just, edgy 4chan type stuff, but it also has a lot of mainstream stuff that's just not in the mainstream, but it should be. There's like a lot of regular news channels on there, and the thing is, it gets you like an up-to-date. It's kind of like a Twitter, but without the censorship. So speaking of censorship, what happened was, and for the sake of this, I'm going to say Warner Brothers, Disney, and all these companies are all kind of the same company in that you think, it's a company. They're like businessy people doing business. They're trying to sell a product and make $1. It should be easily understood. Give people what they want, or give people what they'll pay for, which sometimes are slightly two different things. Not what they say they want, but what they'll pay for, as we've seen in comics. Oh, I want all this diversity and representation in comics. I can't help but notice that you're not paying for it. Yes, but I want it. So wait, does that just mean that if you're not willing to pay for it, does that mean you want other people to sort of have it? Or you want the idea sort of in theory? Like in theory you want these things, but in actuality you want like girls in bikinis running around. Yes, that's right. Well, that's no way to run a business. That's a way to go out of business very quickly. For example number one would be the comic book industry, which even people on the left are slowly starting to admit, like, oh, some of these things aren't working. You think? Yeah, it's weird how some of this stuff is just not selling. Well, are you buying any of it, perchance? No, I'm not. But you want this woke stuff, but you're not buying it. Money doesn't just material. Oh, well, I'm sure those businesses are insured. They'll just be fine. Money doesn't materialize out of thin air. You have to, though apparently U.S. dollars do. Thanks, Biden. $4 trillion printed in the past 2 years. Oh, so what's it backed by? Nothing. What do you mean? You didn't just create something and not back it by something. It's like there's a product underlying. There's some material good or service or something. Nope, just out of thin air. Oh, dear God. What does that do? Oh, are you familiar with the Weimar? I know this sounds tinfoil hat off Alex Jonesy type of stuff, but it's not. It's all related. How many times can you say that guy's name and get demonetized? It really is all related. I mean, you can hear, I'm not some whack job. All these little pieces. But what I mean by companies that are not business oriented, they're not chasing the dollar, is I'm trying to say, and I've tried to say this a long time. I've been saying this for a long time, and people kind of back in the day they would have said, like in 2015 they would have said it was kind of tinfoil hat to say businesses are not financially oriented. They are ideologically oriented. At least some of them. Some of the ones in the entertainment are like entertainment's obviously such a great platform for spreading propaganda. And you go, wait a minute, are you telling me the companies are willing to forego hundreds of millions of dollars to take a financial loss to spread propaganda? Yes, that's what I've been trying to say for several years, and a bunch of other people also are trying to say it. And then you have other people who, on the left and the right, who literally still have this mindset of going, oh, what are you talking about? Companies are just in it for the money. You go, wait a minute. You're saying a bunch of really smart people who've got a lot of smart people with no degrees whatsoever. They went from high school to building businesses. Like, they don't need, if you're really smart, you don't need a degree. But then you got a lot of smart people who also have tons of degrees from really top flight schools, and they're in business, and they're making this product. And you go, okay, wait a minute. They're repeatedly making bad financial decisions to make woke movies. Like, you say Lucy started with Star Wars 2015, but that made billions of dollars. Yeah, but the point is, it underperformed in that the return on investment should have been a lot higher. It wasn't, because it didn't get rewatchability. It means, yes, it made, say, $2 billion. It should have made, honestly, $4 billion. It should have made double, or at least a certain percentage greater than that. It should have made $3-4 billion. Because people should have said, oh my gosh, you got to go back and go watch this. This is like, we're going to get the energy like 77 Star Wars back again in the theaters. You got to go to the theater and watch this in the theater. Don't wait to stream it. You got to see the big sound immersion thing. That didn't happen. So yeah, it made $2 billion, but it missed. And then you get 2016 Ghostbusters, and then after that, oh my God, they did stuff like the X-Men. You probably don't even know the last X-Men because it was so bad. The Terminator, last Terminator was a bunch of chicks. Ghostbusters 2016. Charlie's Angels, and there was a couple other. Who was that? The hot blonde Australian girl. She made a Birds of Prey movie, and they had to change the name. And now with digital films, they could edit stuff on the fly, like while the film's in theater, they're going back and editing weirdo stuff like that. That's a little 1984 for me, but that was a miss too, and that wasn't a horrible movie. And then Solo came out, and Solo bombed. And then Self-Deletion Squad Part 2 came out, and that was a miss for some reason. You look at the movie and you go, oh, it all seems really good. I mean, everything, like, it looks like a big budget film. Everything's in the right place. You got funny, like, legitimately, there were some funny lines in there, and it wasn't insanely woke. And you go, what happened? It just missed. It just missed. It just didn't resonate on anyone's frequency, because it was like a little bit of wokeness is just like a little discordia. You're slightly out of tune. Just tune that string back up. I want to hear these things in harmonies, and it's like it just missed. So there's a lot of movies like that just came out, like either flat bomb, like Solo, and like, did Solo deserve to bomb? Not really, but it did, because the Star Wars, people were so disappointed with Star Wars. So there's like a ton of these movies that came, probably a dozen movies that came out. You go, why are smart people making bad decisions repeatedly? That's not the definition of smart. Why are they doing stuff like The Eternals? Okay, The Eternals was a really good example, because it was bad on a lot of fronts. The BLT stuff, why'd you put it in there? Do the majority of people want to see that? If it's organic, you can put it in there. But they don't do anything in an organic manner. It's enough to say that you have two guys together. It's enough. We can make the connection like, oh, they're more than friends. They live together. Two guys that live together. It's 2022 when the movie came out. Two guys live together. Okay, we get it. That's enough. You don't need to go beyond that. It's like, it's enough to make your point and then back off it. Like, if that's your point, you want to kind of normalize this stuff. And then there's an argument to be made. There's a lot of people don't want to normalize. Apparently, there's 2 billion people in China who don't want that kind of stuff normalized. But this is dealing with Harry Potter and or a Harry Potter subsidiary, a movie that came out, and so they edited out some of the dialogue, which was, cringy and stupid. And it's funny, J.K. Rowling is, she's on the left and she's totally on board 99% of it, but she had the audacity to say that, oh yeah, women need their own spaces. How dare you, sir? How dare you say that? Women, yeah, I mean, we can be as left-wing as you want, but you eventually got to draw a line in the sand. It's like, do words have meanings or not? Because if you want to just redefine things, it feels like we're kind of setting ourselves up for this bizarro Tower of Babel. It's like, yeah, it's kind of what we're setting ourselves up for. So what happened in the Harry Potter movie is they edited out some dialogue, and with that other Eternals movie, for China and other markets, they edited out some other scenes of the BLT type of stuff. And you go, oh, well, that's on the table now. Like, editing films for different markets is on the table. Oh, what are you, a bigot? What are you? Well, wait a minute. Are all 2 billion of those people over there, the land of rice, are they bigots? Because they edit. Oh, well, it's not the people, it's the government. Oh, okay. But does that same argument work for the West? It's not the people, it's the government. Oh, no. They no. And it's that Windows that Windows XP sign, if you're old enough to remember the good old days of computers. It only applies one way. So it feels like the summation of this is China can censor, but America gets the propaganda version. And then people on Twitter were going like, well, what if I want the censored version? So how do I set my VPN to Southeast Asia or some part of the world like the Middle East where I'm going to get the censored version, the edited version? I mean, if you really want to rip a video, you could edit it yourself. I don't know if that's legal, but it could be done. Maybe it's probably legal to do, but you can't transfer an edited version. That's probably how that law works. So yeah, I'm sure you can find the edited version. But if you want the edited version, you're a bigot for not wanting to see what is essentially propaganda. But the 2 billion people overseas are not bigots because they're POCs for some reason, because they're the Asian of the Eurasian continent. They're the Chinese, the 2 billion. They don't want that little the little LGBT dialogue or the kiss in Eternals. And really, it's like you really should. The Eternals, there's no part of the Eternals you need to see. That was just that was a shock to see that Disney is going down this path where now, like, Disney had a reputation for making stellar movies. Like, you knew what you're getting with Disney. You're getting a movie that was going to be at least a solid movie. And then And then after that, after like 2015 with the Disney experiment, things started to get weird. And now you look at something like the Solo, that didn't feel like Star Wars. I will say Rogue One was really good. So Rogue One felt like Star Wars, even though it had a female protagonist. For some reason, that clicked. But the latest one, like the Eternals, is like, ooh, is this direction Disney? And no, it's not just the one BLT scene. It was a lot to the Eternals. And I don't know if you read the Kirby comic book. I went back and reread it a few years ago. It's like, it doesn't look like the comic book. Kirby was, if you didn't know Kirby's background, you would think he was some kind of he wasn't. It was like he wanted to sell comic books, so he had the Eternals and his blonde haired, blue eyed space gods, and it didn't. He's not of European origin. I've got to be careful on YouTube. I mean, you know Kirby and Stan Lee, right? But he just wanted to sell comics. He just wanted to make a great comic. So the Eternals are the Eternals, the humans, and then I think the Deviants, and they all fit these kind of stereotypical images. It's like it's on the first page of the Eternals comic book. I think they're showing you the three characters, and it's like, if you didn't know his background, you would wonder. It would feel like a bit of political incorrectness nowadays. But you knew his background. And like, he just wants to sell comics. He just wants to have fun. He knows who his market is. He just wants to sell comics. And it's funny, to Stan Lee's credit, when they asked him in an interview a few decades ago about Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and he very clearly said who Peter Parker was.